What has Australia done this time? I'll tell you what, they've done something quite spectacular. A train that powers itself? What? Let's learn about this. This seems sort of impossible, right? But it seems pretty awesome. This video is called This Mining Train Powers Itself, the Infinity Train, and how it works. So that's from a channel from Engineering with Rosie. It'll be linked in the description down below. So you can watch the whole thing as we're bouncing around a little bit. Watch the whole thing uninterrupted. And this is a Discord suggestion from PJ Pete. So thank you very much. Really intrigued by this. Let's go.
I'm Rosie Barnes. Welcome to Engineering with Rosie. Let's go back to this gravity-powered train. What's going on there? It's a project that was announced by Fortescue Metal Group earlier this year in partnership with Williams Advanced Engineering. And that's Williams of F1 fame.
No way.
FMG acquired. And they've given this project a very catchy, but pretty much...
You know what? F1's very relevant in my life right now. Very relevant on this channel. Did not expect to see an F1 reference in this video. This is really cool. What a small world.
Ungoogleable name, Infinity Train. It's a train that will take iron ore from their mine in the Pilbara in Western Australia to the port. According to their press release, their regenerating battery electric iron ore train project will use gravitational energy to fully recharge its battery electric systems without any additional charging requirements for the return trip to reload.
No way.
The idea is that the train will travel downhill from the mine to the port carrying the payload and generate and store energy in onboard batteries on its way downhill. And then because the cars are lighter on the way back up to the mine after they drop off all their iron ore at the port, they'll need less energy for the return trip than if they were full. So they can power the whole return journey with the energy they stored on the way down. This is really similar to a simple system that's been used in mining sites since the 1600s.
You know, it actually does. It sounds genius, but at the same time, it sounds simple, right? I mean, it's kind of awesome. It can basically, like she said, coast a long time down to its destination with payload. And no plug-in, no charging it up, no refueling. Goes right back to where it came from, unloaded by itself under its own power using the captured energy from the regenerative braking on the way down. Really awesome. Let's hear more about it.
Ropeways like this one that Tom Scott visited for a video last year can be used to transfer products from a mine to a nearby and lower location without any additional energy input. Loaded cars glide down a zip line, which pulls a corresponding empty car going back up. The Infinity is a similar idea, but since the Fortescue mine is a little bigger and a lot further from the port, the required zip line would have to be hundreds of kilometers long and thick enough to pull tens of thousands of tons. So obviously they're not doing that. Instead of using a ropeway, the Infinity Train stores energy on board instead. Like the old-timey ropeways, the Infinity Train converts gravitational potential energy that's stored in the mass of the iron ore, sitting at some height above sea level, into kinetic energy of the moving train. But then the difference to the ropeway is that in the Infinity Train, regenerative braking converts that kinetic energy into chemical energy that's stored in batteries on the train. You may have first-hand experience of regenerative braking if you drive an electric vehicle, or in fact, if you travel a lot on electric or diesel electric trains, which commonly use the technology these days. The way it works is that during braking, the electric...
Yeah, I don't own an EV or anything like that, but yeah, I've learned about it. I'm very aware of what regenerative braking is. She's going to explain it, so I'm not going to do it. She'll probably do it better than I. But yeah, obviously that would be the go-to for this. And it just kind of furthers the fact that that stuff is really amazing. And this train is just fascinating.
The motor actually runs in reverse. So instead of using electricity to turn the motor and drive the wheels turn the motor, and the motor now acts as a generator. The resistance from this slows the car or train, and the electricity can be used to charge a battery. To power the train back up to the mine, the electric motor runs in its normal direction, powered by the battery. And as it regains elevation, some of the battery's stored energy is converted to gravitational potential energy. The interesting thing about this project is not really the regenerative braking. That's pretty much old news. It's been very common in passenger trains, especially for at least a decade. But those trains all need to be charged from an external energy source, whereas the Infinity Train does not. Regenerative braking on normal trains can yield energy savings of about 8 to 17%, and even higher in very dense suburban networks.
But it doesn't power it 100%, right?
But for the Infinity Train, it's a 100% saving.
That's right.
Which is only possible because of the specific nature of the train and its route. The train itself makes a round trip from the mine to the port and back again, but its load only makes a one-way trip, strictly downhill only. And that's the reason why it's not a perpetual motion device. The gravitational potential energy the load held when it was at the mine doesn't need to be recovered as the train returns from the port. That energy can be converted to power the train back up the hill. Energy is conserved. There's no free energy needed. The big advantage of this is that they won't need to buy any diesel. And considering that Fortescue's rail operations used 82 million litres of diesel in 2021, even if that was only $1 a litre, that means they're currently spending $82 million per year in diesel. And because they won't ever have to charge the batteries externally, they don't need to buy electricity and they don't need to install any charging infrastructure.
That's insane.
Now, I couldn't find out how much of that 82 million litres will be eliminated specifically by the Infinity Train project. And Fortescue have only mentioned project development costs of $50 million. They haven't said what the capital cost to actually modify the trains is. So it's not really possible to get an idea of the financial payback they can expect from the Infinity.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to think they're not going to get a financial kickback or payback, immediately, right? It'll be a jump start immediately, but, it's going to take some investment as well. The return isn't going to happen in 1 year, right? It might take a few years, but long term, it is going to save a lot of money because, it's just fascinating. It's genius. And the fact that they don't have to put a drop of fuel in this thing and they don't have to plug it in and charge it, use tons of electricity. It's wild. It's really wild to think that something is self-sufficient like that when it comes to transportation, something as big and heavy as a train. Really cool
project. Though, I expect that will turn out to save them money, at least in the long run. And in the medium term, it will be part of their announced commitment to be net zero in scope 1 and 2 emissions by 2030. Part of that is a commitment to get off diesel entirely within the next 8 years.
That's
If you're a long-time viewer of Engineering with Rosie, you might have seen a few of my other videos on energy technologies that involve conversions of gravitational potential energy.
Okay, so we skipped ahead to this really green giant dump truck here or whatever this is. Really fascinating. We're going to see what she says about this and then probably conclude the video after that. Now, I did skip around. I skipped part of the beginning, skipped part of the middle. So that is your incentive, of course, to go check out her full video dealing with some calculations and other things. And quite frankly, that is more than I'm willing to try and take in and comprehend this late in the night for me. I record these late at night usually, guys. So, yeah, I'll let you guys have that with the original video link. You can visit her and discuss that. But here we go. Let's see what this electric mining truck is all about. Sounds very interesting as well because these are famous, these mining trucks, for being gigantic, right? Beast mode. But see, you want electric. Now that's an idea. That's
actually a mining truck that is pretty similar in concept to the Infinity Train. It's called the E-Dumper. It was developed by a Swiss company, Kunstschweiz AG. They converted a diesel mining dump truck to what they're calling the world's largest electric vehicle. Though I'm not sure what they count as an electric vehicle. I know that there are plenty of electric trains and electric ferries in the world that I would call electric vehicles, and I would expect that they are bigger than this mining truck. Right. So I'd rather call the E-Dumper the world's largest electric truck rather than the world's largest electric vehicle, but that's just being pedantic. It weighs 100 tons when fully loaded and has a 600 kilowatt hour battery with regenerative braking that recovers energy as it drives downhill, carrying a load of rocks. It then travels back uphill using that energy. But in most cases, it's not 100% self-sufficient.
Gotcha.
So for some reason, Formula E driver Lucas de Grassi had a go in it. And he said, we went out of here with 90%. We went all the way to the top. We arrived with 80% battery loaded up. And on our way back, we recovered 8%. So we came back with 88%. That's actually pretty cool. And I agree, really Lucas. Neat. That's pretty cool. And it apparently saves 50,000 tons of fuel per vehicle per year, which is definitely cool. But
really, really neat. Great savings. That is pretty random. Gotta say, though. Formula E, we're talking about basically electric style Formula One, style cars. Jumping in a big dump truck like that. Yeah, that's a little bizarre. That's out there.
If you are losing 2% charge each round trip, it's not 100% gravity powered like the Infinity Train is going to be. So not quite as catchy. And the gradient needs to be much steeper for it to work than in the low friction Infinity Train example. The manufacturer suggests with about a 10% gradient, it won't ever need to be charged. So that would limit it to pretty short, steep routes. On long routes, you'd need a bigger battery, and the battery in the E-Dumper is already nearly 5% of the unloaded truck's mass. On less steep routes, the ratio of gravitational potential energy to friction losses would skew in favor of friction. So you need top-up charging. So whilst regenerative braking is a great technology that makes EVs of all kinds much more efficient, I don't think we'll be able to do away with charging altogether in any more than a few niche cases.
Yeah.
The calculations I've done in this video are all based on really simple physics. If you want to see...
Well, there you go. Like she said, not going to happen worldwide where everything is just self-sufficient. That's insane, right? That would be that's just not even in our scope of reality yet, of course. But honestly, the fact that just even a few examples can exist, I think is pretty impressive, if you ask me. I did not know anything like this existed between that dump truck, but more impressively, this infinity train. I think it's very fascinating, really impressive. And you know what I've learned? Like a lot of even not just things that the whole world uses and that a lot of us might use every day that we didn't know when we're talking about inventions that Australia has brought the world. But even these kind of one-off crazy inventions or discoveries, I've learned a lot of them come from Australia. You guys really, really get that noggin working and come up with some awesome stuff down under. So congrats to Australia. Really, really cool. This infinity train, great info. Check out that whole original video. I highly encourage you to do that with that link down there. And great suggestion from you guys. Leave a thumbs up, a like, for fascinating science like that. Alrighty. And of course, you can subscribe, join this amazing community we have here growing on our way to 100K. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. And until next time, y'all, catch you later.